Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Today we're gonna talk about an article or essay by Helen Cixous, or as the French call her, Helen Cixous, called The Laugh of Medusa. The Laugh of Medusa is a feminist article, and it describes deals with feminine kind of writing, which we call feminine écriture or écriture feminine. We're gonna talk about it, what it is, and what are the like criteria for feminine écriture. And I'm gonna read some excerpts from the article because I think that's the best way to learn about the article itself. It's not just gonna be me explaining everything. It's mostly gonna be based on what her article says. So let's see what she discusses in her article. She begins with this sentence: Woman must write herself, must write about women and bring women to writing, from which they have been driven away as violently as from their bodies, for the same reasons, by the same law, with the same fatal goal, which is to marginalize women. What I say has at least two sides and two aims: to break up, to destroy, and to foresee the unforeseeable, to project. So she's saying that women must write themselves, and in doing so, she's giving us a strategy, let's say, of destroying and breaking up, which means to deconstruct the existing power and language systems, which we're going to talk about more in detail what we mean by language systems. And the second one is to generate new ways of thinking and writing, to foresee the unforeseeable. So women have, let's say, two duties here to do. The first is to destroy, the second is to project, to generate new ways of thinking. How does she define the female sexuality? For her, there is no homogeneous form of female, like let's say one typical woman, and everything that she represents is the female sexuality. No, that's not how it is. You can't talk about a female sexuality uniform, homogeneous, classifiable into codes any more than you can talk about one unconscious resembling another. So you can't define exactly what one woman is or what the female species is. Now, she's going to talk about here um, writing for women. She says, women who feeling a funny desire stirring inside her to sing, to write, to dare to speak, in short, to bring out something new, hasn't thought she was sick. So, uh, this is her way of saying every woman who has ever tried to, let's say, produce something, as she says, to sing, to write, to dare to speak, to bring out anything new, every time she sees herself as a sick and mad person. But why is that? Why would she feel or think that she's mad or sick? Because writing is at once too high, too great for you. It's reserved for the great, that is, for the great men, and it's silly. Besides, you've written a little, but in secret. So she's talking on the behalf of women, saying that women don't write because writing has been thought of as this grand thing that is only appropriate for men, and females or women are silly if they write. That's been the attitude towards women writers as well. They're just writing silly novels during the centuries. What does she say about the female writers of history? I think this is an important note here. Let's read it together and see what she means by this quote. The number of women writers, while having increased very slightly from the 19th century on, has always been ridiculously small. This is a useless and deceptive fact, unless from their species of female writers we do not first deduct the immense majority whose workmanship is in no way different from male writing, and which either obscures women or reproduces the classic representations of women as sensitive, intuitive, dreamy, etc. So she's saying that all the female writers that we've had so far, the problem with them is that only a minority have truly written uh, in the way of a woman. in the way of feminine écriture or feminine écriture. Only a minority of them have done this, because the majority's workmanship has been only similar to male writing. So what does it do, this male writing? It either obscures women or reproduces the classic representations, or let's say it portrays the women just as men see them, as sensitive, intuitive, dreamy, etc. So this is what she means. She means that even when we have a majority of female writers after the 19th century, some of them, most of them, do not count, because their writing hasn't truly been feminine writing. Phallogocentrism. Let's talk about phallogocentrism first. What's this? Phallogocentrism is an idea that Helen Cixous challenges in her essay. Phallogocentrism was coined by Derrida, Jacques Derrida, and it is, let's say, it can be explained in two parts: phallocentrism and logocentrism. These two are combined together, and we have phallogocentrism. Phallocentrism is the superiority of the view of men or men's worldview over women's worldview. So phallus plus centrism. Phallus is a sign for, let's say, the male reproduction area, and that's what phallocentrism means, the superiority of the man's point of view. And logocentrism is the superiority of reason or speech over writing and intuition and etc. So this is logos plus centrism. Logos is reason. So phallogocentrism is a sort of, let's say, men's way of writing that has always preferred logic over intuition and sensibility, and has kind of defined that reason. This is not a reason that is general, saying general reason um, as something positive. This is something that has been defined by men. Something, let's say, a reason here is what men see as reasonable. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, let's see what Helen says about this. Admitted, writing has been run by a libidinal and cultural, hence political, typically masculine economy, that this is a locus where the repression of women has been perpetuated. So she's saying that the writing of the whole area of writing, the whole field, is phallogocentric. Nearly the entire history of writing is confounded with the history of reason. See, this is here an important point for us. Reason, logocentrism. This is men's way of seeing the world, of which it is at once the effect, the support, and one of the privileged alibis. It has been one with the phallocentric tradition. By writing herself, woman will return to the body which has been more than confiscated from her, which has been turned into the uncanny stranger on display, the ailing or dead figure which so often turns out to be the nasty companion, the cause and location of inhibitions. Censor the body and you censor breast and speech at the same time. So how do we challenge this logocentrism? Helen Cixous or Cixous tells us that we should return to the body. So this return to the body, how does it manifest in writing? Let's say by sensual writing, let's say by expressing more bodily desires, or more, let's say everything concerned with the body. Return to the body of the woman, and this is important, the body of women, not the body of men, because that's something that has been already done by the men writers and by the phallogocentric sort of writing. Return to the body and get it back. It has been confiscated from you, they have taken it away from you, they didn't let you write about your bodies, it was a taboo. Now you have to take that back. You have to write about your body in your writing. To write and thus forge for herself the anti-logos weapon, to become at will the taker and initiator for her own right in every symbolic system, in every political process. So, to write and thus forge herself the anti-logos weapon. This is important. So, women here are going exactly against the phallogocentric system. They have to create the anti-logos weapon. And how do we create this anti-logos weapon? So, logos or reason is very much closely related to grammar. Let's say grammar is a representation of reason. It's rules, it's laws that confine us, and that's the male way of thinking. That's phallocentric or phallic. But the anti-logos is going back to the intuition, to the Dionysiac side of the body, let's say. And that's what women have to go back to. That's why she says that we have to create the anti-logos weapon. So let's do away with grammar, let's do away with these rules and all these laws, and go back to the sensuality that we feel. Very much like the romantics here, we can see her writing. But what is écriture féminine or écriture feminine? Let's read the excerpt first and then we can talk about it. Because so few women have as yet won back their body, women must write through their bodies. They must invent the impregnable language that will wreck partitions, classes, and rhetorics, regulations, and codes. They must submerge, cut through, get beyond the ultimate reserved discourse, including the one that laughs at the very idea of pronouncing the word silence, the one that, aiming for the impossible, is stops short before the word impossible and writes it as the end. Such is the strength of women, that sweeping away syntax, breaking that famous thread, just a tiny little thread, they say, which acts for men as a surrogate umbilical cord, assuring them otherwise they couldn't come, that the old lady is always right behind them, watching them make phallus. Women will go right up to the impossible. So, sweeping away syntax, as I say, and breaking, let's say, the partitions, glasses, and rhetorics. These two. So, breaking the partitions, glasses, and rhetorics, and sweeping away syntax, it means that we're going to have a writing that is not logocentric, that is not like the writing of men. How do we have that? So, what is feminine écriture finally? Challenging phallogocentrism by rejecting male centered language and structures and hierarchical discourse, prioritizing the female subjectivity and inscription of the female body in the text, emphasizing fluidity, nonlinearity, digression, and playful experimentation with syntax and grammar, which we said is a representation of logos. A feminine text. So these three were the, let's say, criteria for feminine écriture. This is how we define feminine écriture. A feminine text is described as more than subversive. It is volcanic, bringing about an upheaval of the old property crust, and aiming to smash everything, to shatter the framework of institutions, to blow up the law, to break the truth with laughter. Now, let's get to this question that kind of concerned myself. How is Medusa related to this discussion? Why is it the laugh of Medusa? Let's read an excerpt first. As soon as they begin to speak, women, at the same time as they're taught their name, they can be taught that their territory is black, because you're Africa, you're black, your continent is dark, dark is dangerous. Now, what is this referring to? Actually, it's referring to Freud. Freud had once said in a famous quote that women's sexual life is like a dark continent, dangerous and unknown. And this is kind of like a reply to that, saying that, everyone calls women as the dangerous territory, as the dark territory, which is unknown. And From this danger, we go to the Medusa part. So here is a mythological figure that has been associated by many with danger and the lethal gaze that she has, kind of is the demonization of women here, and that's why Helen Cixous is trying to reclaim the figure of Medusa. In classical myth, Medusa's lethal gaze embodies the demonization of female power. Cixous flips this script. She invites women to confront Medusa directly, showing that the monster is a patriarchal projection, not an inherent truth. Now, what does that mean? It means that this is just a view by the men. Men have demonized Medusa in the myth. Otherwise, she was the victim. She was the one who was being tortured because she was raped by Neptune, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what happened to her by a curse from the gods. And the male version of the story just considers her as the evil figure. Now, Helen Cixous is trying to reframe that. Medusa's laughter as feminine power. Instead of petrifying horror, Cixous highlights Medusa's laugh, joyous, defiant act that symbolizes women's reclamation of voice. You only have to look at the Medusa straight on to see her, and she's not deadly, she's beautiful and she's laughing. This reframes female power as something to embrace, not fear. So Medusa becomes the symbol for female power. Disrupting phallocentric discourse. Medusa's laughter becomes a metaphor for ecriture feminine's dual aim, to break down patriarchal language structure and to project unforeseeable new methods of expression. By reimagining a figure long vilified by male-centered myth, Cixous enacts the very subversion her essay advocates. So she's advocating advocating that women write for women, that women write feminine ecriture. Now she's doing the same thing by reclaiming Medusa, by destroying that phallogocentric idea of her, that she's deadly, and by constructing a new idea that Medusa's laughter is actually beautiful and it's the, let's say, symbol of female power. Now, one last question that I had myself, and I thought it should be best to be addressed, is that is feminine ecriture only for women? Because Helen Cixous says that I write woman, woman writes woman, and man, man. She says that in her article, but the answer is no. Feminine ecriture is not just for women. Men can write that too. And Kleist is an example that the German poet is the example that Helen Cixous herself gives us. Now, that was all I had to talk about in this essay. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please like it and subscribe it and share it with your friends who want to learn about the laugh of the Medusa. And thank you for listening to my video.